All right, Matty, welcome back to the Ask Matty Show. 2024 is upon us. Matty, how are you feeling?
Hey, I'm doing great. New year, new me, new you. I'm excited. It's, obviously going to be a year that we've anticipated, price action wise, hopefully seeing things move in the direction we were anticipating. So I'm pumped for it and pumped for everything that this year has to offer for us, crypto wise and otherwise in life.
Absolutely, Matty. Crypto Charge is on the road to 10K team, so make sure you subscribe. Before we get into the content here, but also as well, become a Crypto Charge member. The link will be in the pinned comment below. Join the Discord. We had a flood of people join the Discord over Christmas. New Year's was a couple days ago, so a bunch of people making it their New Year's resolution to get tapped into a crypto community like ours, where we also do education, all the blah, blah, blah. You've heard me talk about it 1,000 times, but tap in with that team. But today, we're going to get into the content here. We're talking about a lot of questions, Solana, XLM, going to be looking at KILT protocol maybe here, Matty. So let's get into the content here. Matty, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Jason Burt 8631 says, Sol has been pumping. What are your thoughts for it in 2024?
Yeah, of course, it's been pumping, right? All alts have been doing really well. So I've talked about these many, many times. Solana, Ethereum, Solana, Link, a handful of others that kind of had that first mover advantage, AVAX, right? And kind of really haven't offered those pullbacks either. And I always get very concerned with assets that don't offer pullbacks. So short term, I'm not interested in any of these assets that have done 3, 4, 5x, even render, right? Like I just missed the boat on that one, and that's okay, right? I can't catch everything. I can't catch every opportunity. And sometimes you set a set of rules and contingencies for yourself. And if the criteria isn't met, right, you just don't take that. And there have been situations where I've set up those criteria, I've waited, and then I end up coming into my zones and they reverse into the right direction, right? So thousands of coins out there, thousands of different prices you can target. You can't catch them all. In relation to Solana, right? Let's actually just take a quick look at a chart here. So we'll go Sol, USD, and then we're going to go the crypto chart. So when you guys are searching here, you'll see all kinds of exchanges here, which is why you'll see pricing change a little bit. Generally, with the ones that say crypto, it's like a trading view chart that syndicates a bunch of different pricing. It'll have all the price history, and that's always important for us to do, is to look at as much price history as humanly possible, right? One of the things when we look at Sol here, let's come out to maybe even a weekly chart, just so we have a little bit less bars here on the screen. When we look at a couple different ranges, right? We look at, first of all, the kind of that big crashing structure in 2020, right? Solana reached out to a 55 extension, pierced just above it, but that ended up being kind of the top here on the weekly level. Used the 34 as a top here as well. Interestingly enough, when we take the XRP fractal and we go from an earlier piece of price action like this, we actually get the exact same situation. We hit a 55, we retrace into a 34, and then we move our way on down, right? Now it was on a more exacerbated level, but either which way, you can see that there's a similar story to be had here. Where we ended up finding a bottom here was on the 1.618. I was targeting this $5 mark, which was the previous high here from 2020. It wasn't an unreasonable area to target, right? There was a lot of liquidity down here, and it ended up being missed by just a few dollars. So when we look at this though, right, and you guys can see, first of all, what has Solana done from its 2022 low, right? Solana is currently up 11x, almost a 12x, right? Solana could go much further, absolutely, right? Because when we look at a more recent range, right, the 2021 range, then we come to the swing high, swing low. We're right about the 382 here, right? So that puts us the 618 around 164, the 702 around 185. So we'll call it 160 to 200 being kind of the upper bounds of retracement. And of course, the extension's putting us at $400 to $1,000, right? So current market price, $100 give or take, 108, 107, right? And we grab our little measurement tool here, where you go to that first extension, you're looking for about a 2.8x here to that first extension. And if you were to go to the 4.236, you'd be looking at a 9x. Nice, very good returns, right? But you're doing this from an asset that just did an 11.5x from its 2022 lows, right? So I just want you guys to keep these things in mind, right? And everyone goes, well, this asset did this asset did this, right? But there's so many that fall short, right? There's some that only reach the 1.618, some that only reach the 2.618. And then of course, you have your exceptions that reach the 13s, the 21s, the 34s, right? But are you going to hold your whole bag and say, I'm going to buy right here because my friend says Solana is going to $2,000, $3,300, $5,300, right? It's a situation where you kind of have to look at your cost basis, see if there's a case to have that long-term hold. But overall, when I look at this pricing, I just don't see a bear market occurring where even current market prices maybe not reoffered, right? So for me, I'm personally not interested in Solana from a buy and hold spot perspective. Everything that's hot right now absolutely has those leverage opportunities on 5 and 15-minute charts, and I will exploit those every day, all day. I refuse to build big spot positions at this point in charts when you're up 11, 12, 13x, right? just because something's hot doesn't mean it will keep doing those impulses as it's done in the cycle forever and ever, right? And more often than not, we see rotations. Link will have to take a break, AVAX will have to take breaks, Solana will have to take a break, and we'll see a lot of these other altcoins that are a little further behind really start to make some of the moves that we've seen here in Solana, AVAX, and Link.
Matty, I have a question here. The grand question today for 2024, is Solana going to be 100x crypto?
I mean, if we were to talk about for 2024, right, we're looking at today's current market price. Where would price have to be a 100x, right? We're going, well, we'd have to be right about almost $11,000, right? We'd be like right under $11,000 for a 100x on Solana. So guys, come on, just think about it a little bit here, right? $100 to $11,000. I'm not saying it's not possible, but at a certain point here, guys, like manage your expectations, right? Like don't pile into Solana because it's hot right now and you think that it's the only thing that's going to go up. I promise you there's a million opportunities. Don't chase ones that look identically like this. At least wait for some sort of pullback, right? Like if you're like, I got to get in Solana, there's absolutely nothing I want more than Solana. Wait for at least like 65, 68, right? Like be a little bit patient. They're more often than not, right? People get very surprised like, wow, that pullback came out of nowhere. Did it though? Like, or are you just not paying attention to the charts and you just didn't expect it?
Foxy Freedom says, why does everyone love XLM?
Well, I don't think everyone does. There's plenty of Bitcoin maxis out there. XLM is, I've talked about this before, basically like almost a carbon copy of XRP. And that's because Jed McHale was one of the developers who created it and helped co-create XRP along with Arthur Britto and David Schwartz. So when you look at XLM, right, it's very, very similar in relation to the mechanics, operating under the same pretenses, offering the same proposition value, which is essentially solving the cross-border payment issue. So when you look at XLM, right, and the price action as well, we talked about this in the portfolio reviews, they mirror each other, almost one for one, right? And it's very interesting that it does that. So when I look at XLM, I've talked about this before, like I used to own a bunch of XLM. I sold it, for Casper because my XRP bag looks really, really good. They like it because it's an ISO 20022 solution. They like it because it's a payment solution. They like it because it's a cross-border solution, right? You'll see some people, their entire portfolios are only payment solutions, and XLM's kind of at the top of the list there. It's also kind of a dino coin to some extent, right? So it has some long-standing history. We have, data on uptime on the network, right? We have a little bit more to work off of versus, hey, this product launched three months ago and it's the best thing since sliced bread. So yeah, I don't think everyone loves XLM. I like XLM, but I've personally chosen XRP as my main payment play.
User, a lot of letters and numbers there. I would love for you to take a look into KILT protocol.
Yeah, we'll probably take a look at another chart here. So KILT is actually a protocol. I remember Kevin Cage talked about it a good long while ago, something that piqued my interest from a fundamental standpoint, and that's because they focus on DIDs, which are decentralized identities, right? So one of the things to consider is, when we have our IDs now, it has all this information on it, your address, your date of birth, your gender, your height, all this information, right? And let's say you're applying for a car loan or a home loan, right? It's very likely they don't need to know your sex or, your height or any of these things, right? As any of these things could potentially be discriminating factors, right? But what do they need to know? Are you this age, right? Yes or no. It can just be binary, yes or no. Is your income verified in this capacity? Yes or no. Is your tax records, meet these standards? Yes or no, right? So DIDs can provide these binary outputs where we don't have to share all the sensitive pieces of our identity, but share the pertinent and verified pieces of information with parties that need that to verify, right? So I do like the concept from a fundamental standpoint, and it is something we're going to be moving towards in the future here. I think it's literally probably less than 10 years before we all have the ability nationwide to have our driver's license as an acceptable form of ID on our phones, right? Because we've already done that with most cards. I almost never use any cards whatsoever. Back to KILT though here. We look at the chart, it looks a little ugly from the get-go, but it does look like one of our very good friends. We're going to take a look at that in a second. One of the things when we come out here and we come back down to a smaller chart here, let's come down to a 3-day chart. You have kind of this initial launch price, right? And sometimes these wicks go in the opposite direction where it just starts high and then it goes low and then it kind of recovers and then just crashes back down. It doesn't really matter. I don't really care about what the body looks like on these candles. It's more about where are we building the majority of this price action? Where is the majority of this volume being done? So when we look at KILT, we've built a really, really strong bottom in here, right? And it actually looks a lot like Casper. I'm going to show you guys in a second. So you have the low here on June 15th, 22. You got some wicking in here, but no candle bodies closing below here in December of 22. You drop below here just briefly in the summer and through October of 23, and we've reclaimed this now, right? So it's been a very strong floor, right around 27 cents. Very, very excellent floor. Now we're working on another level here, right? You guys can see that we also had a pretty big pivot zone here. We're back above the 50-day and the 100-day moving average. We got the 50-week that started printing printing here in December of last year, so about a year ago. And then you guys, or 2 years ago, technically, right? 22 here. And you guys can see where the 50 week is at. So we're testing the 50 week currently. We've seen a lot of altcoins do this where they start pushing up on that 50 week. And eventually, once they get over it, they start using it as support. And then they put in that 2x, 3x move. That's what we've seen across the board. API 3 is getting ready to do it right about now. So when we look at kind of some of these ranges, right, we could, of course, go from some of these candle body highs here to the lows. You guys can see that we basically, back up here, back with the 236 here, right around 62 cents. We did that on December 27th and pulled back here underneath this major pivot zone. So we're definitely waking up here a little bit on KILT. Now, it's not listed on a ton of exchanges, which is why, some coins, kind of get that tough start. But once they start get it going price action wise, not only do you get a lot of people pushing onto those exchanges that are offering it, it puts some more pressure on the other major exchanges to say, hey, look at all this volume that's being done on KuCoin and MEXC and BitGet and all this stuff, right? There's probably good reason for us to consider listing this. Now, it's frustrating from the get-go for U.S. investors who aren't willing to jump a couple hoops to get access to foreign exchanges, but it's kind of the way it goes. So when we look at where KILT's at now, right, we look at the 1.6 when it up there, it'd be around $3, right? So current market price to that $3 mark would be roughly a 6x. A full extension, though, from current market price would be roughly a 17x. So definitely good returns here, not as big as some of the other assets that we've talked on here about, right? But if you're already in KILT, let's say you've been accumulating down here in the 27-cent range, right? There's a lot of places for you to consider trimming here, rotating, taking partial profits. I think that $3 mark is a really great spot to consider unloading, especially let's say your average is under 47 cents. Great trade opportunities. Not everything has to be a 100x. So if you have like some of these, like I have with like Energy Web Token right now, I have exit plans that are below the previous all-time high, so I can kind of rotate some of those profits into other assets that I'm looking for a much bigger long-term reward with, right? So that's kind of the technical picture I see here with KILT. Last thing that we have here on the chart is a flagging structure. You guys can kind of see that these are classic breakout and continuation structures. So I do expect KILT to make a breakout move here in the near future, probably towards the 382, towards 87 cents short term.
Matty, do I have short-term memory loss, or I felt like you were going to pull up the Casper comparison?
That's correct. You're absolutely right. Let's actually go ahead and build that right now. Let me move my toolbar out of the way. Let's just split this in half, and then we'll go ahead and pull Casper up on the right side. So we'll put Casper right here. Boom. Let's go ahead and take this off of our itsy-bitsy time frame. Let's come out to like a 3-day chart, and we're going to crunch this up just a little bit here, team. Bear with me a second. Okay, cool. So here's the Casper on the right chart. And then if we scoop out here, you guys can see that KILT here on the left looks very, very similar, right? You kind of have this big illiquidity nonsense candle. Same thing here, big illiquidity nonsense candle. You do a little bit of V-bottoming in here, a little bit of accumulation, V-bottoming, trying to create new highs, but creating more of a double top, and then crashing into new lows, sideways accumulation. You finally get this pop up, right? You guys can see on Casper here, we're finally breaking above that 50-week moving average. That's basically where KILT's at right now, kind of challenging it. And the first time we challenged this back on November 6th, we did not get over it right away, but that doesn't mean we're not going to get over it here on KILT. Okay, so I'm just showing you guys structurally very, very similar to Casper, and I will not bet against projects that have good fundamentals that have charts that look like this, because in fact, they are breeding you a better reward than something like chasing Solana that's already up 11x from its lows.
Daniel's son 22 says, what projects do you see performing the best in 2024?
Okay, guys, we don't do time around here. It's all bullshit, right? How many times has BitBoy said this project to this price by this date, right? There's no consequences for it. Like, he does it like once a week for engagement. It's so cringy, and I don't answer those questions because I refuse to perpetuate this whole nonsense of it's going to happen by this date because of all these fundamental reasons, right? It's to me, to some extent, kind of like the macro doomers out there, right? They're like, the recession's coming. It's going to be so big. It's going to be so nasty. It's going to knock your 401k on its face, right? And they have all these reasons why it's going to happen, right? But a lot of these are intangibles, right? Nobody could have predicted what happened in 2020 because more often than not, like the economic demise and all these things that can relate to timing can absolutely be skewed by one single event that takes all your hard research on the macro and throws it right out the window, right? So please erase anything in your mind of like, I'm going to be extracting all my profits by the end of 2024. If that's your mindset, don't invest. Just please don't. Just stay away from these markets. Stay away from any market. Just pack your money in a liquid savings account and don't do this, because too many of you guys try to play this game where you're like, I'm going to put it in on this date and I'm going to get out by this date because I'm borrowing money from the bank, and just don't do it, guys, right? It's going to do is create anxiety for yourself. You're going to get bad sleep. It's going to lead to a bad financial outcome for you. Only invest what you can afford to invest without strict timelines, for Christ's sake. So when we talk about what's happening for 2024, right? I think that we have a lot of assets that, even assets maybe I don't own right now, that I think are gearing up and have been doing very, very healthy consolidation patterns. One of those is actually Bitcoin Cash right now, which I'm not a big fan of fundamentally. I don't think it's the future of payment solutions by any means. It's too slow. It's too expensive. We just have so many other solutions out there. However, when I look at the chart here, and it's kind of where Zcash is at, just further back, I think that Bitcoin Cash could be a big runner. I think that Zcash could be a very big runner. XRP, definitely Casper, right? I think Casper is probably, out of all of the projects I own, going to be probably one of my biggest earners and biggest performers percentage wise, just because I've been, blocking out the noise, accumulating at 2.5 cents, not caring what anyone has to say, not caring about supply getting dumped, right? Just focusing, staking, accumulating, right? And that's really what's going to be the better performers, right? Because if you're just entering the market right now and you're looking, hey, what's going to perform the best, right? Your options become more and more limited as the bull market goes on. So as of now, this very second, right? I would say Casper is probably still one of the best buys. API 3's got a little elevated short term. I think there's a good pop coming. I think API 3 does well. Again, still probably not my absolute best performer. I would say it's probably going to go Casper, XRP, and then probably the rest of my bag in relations to like top performance. So what's going to do well by the end of 2024? Honestly, who knows? I really couldn't tell you which asset is going to perform the best by this date, because it's a nonsensical question. And if you can find someone who can give you a genuine rationale as to why something's going to happen by this price, by this date, great. I'd love to have a conversation with them and then send them back to the shadow realm, because they don't exist, right? Like it does not exist at all. You guys have to stop like even engaging with these people on Twitter, because it feeds the algo.
Right. I love that, Matty. And kind of you were talking about 2024 there. I kind of want to switch it up to end of the show here. So I was thinking a lot. So it's a new year, but I want to focus on some goals this year. And I'm going to lay out a couple of mine, Matty, to let you kind of ponder maybe what your goals is, and maybe critique some of my goals here. And some of them, I've had some of these goals in the past, but I really want to delve into these. One of my goals this year is to take profit, and that's a lot different from me than it is probably you, because I joined into crypto. I started buying seriously into crypto when the market topped, basically. What was that, 2021? I did a lot of accumulation 2022, a lot of accumulation this year. So this is the year with everything kind of, because my whole portfolio is in the green now, so this is the year where I take profits on that way up, and then reallocate on the way up and look for new positions to be that they're going to be looking for, that are the laggards you talk about all the time, Matty. Another thing I wanted to do this year is get back to my daily routine of charting in the morning. And I stopped charting in college. I charted every single day, Monday through Friday. And then, Matty, we started doing the morning update, and I completely slacked, because then I'm watching. So I'd go from watching your 6-7 minute update in the morning, where you go through all the charts, and not every day you're going in depth, looking at a monthly, all the way down 3-day. You're not doing all of that. So for me, I need to get back to that. That is something that I have been missing, and that's something I need to be doing with this whole market upturn we're seeing right now. Because that's gonna really, I can't talk here about TA and not do it by myself on my daily basis as my daily routine. So that's something I want to incorporate again, because I miss doing that. I kind of so we do the morning update in the morning, and then we get the live show later. So it's like I'm getting my handful of cryptos, but I need to see it on my charts. It's like a lot of people like to watch streamers. They like to watch streamers maybe play games. But you're not playing the game. You're not getting a feel for the game. So I need to be plotting those Fibonacci's. I need to be doing support resistance, looking at indicators, moving averages. I need to be doing that on a daily basis for myself in my TradingView account. And the last thing here, Matty, is I want to lock in. So those were kind of like personal. This may be a little bit more communal. I have like 3 guys that I have really locked in with crypto with, where, they're constantly asking me about, what to add to their portfolio. And it's a lot of the cryptos we talk about here on the show. So something I want to do is lock in with them on an exit plan, because Matty, a couple, maybe like 2 months ago, I showed you my exit plan in Notion, and it's very similar to what we have on the website with I'm spacing out right now. The coin library, right? My space.
Right. Yeah, coin library has all the exit plans, correct?
The exit plans. But what I need to do is split up with, okay, what am I taking out of that, and what am I selling? What percentage am I holding? And that is not in there, because it's different for everyone. We don't know where your cost basis is at. And so knowing my cost basis, knowing where I'm going to sell, knowing what percentage of bags I'm going to hold, like XRP, like Casper, that's very important. And with those two, like with those people, it's accountability, which is something I need. Communal experience, work community. We get a lot of accountability in the Discord. So that's very important for me. Those are like kind of my three things. Matty, what are your kind of goals? Maybe critique some of mine or those good goals. What are your goals for 2024?
Yeah, so for 2024, at least for you guys, two things that I would recommend you guys consider for 2024 that I already actively do that I'm going to carry into 2024. One of them is obviously charting every morning, even in the weekends, right? I wake up, I look at the charts for just a little bit. It's kind of like this practice. Like the more your eyes are in front of it, the less intimidating it is, the faster you're drawn to patterns, the faster you're drawn to levels, right? So just getting yourself in the habit of that. Number two, I would recommend you guys do is get a training journal. I talked about this on the show. It's going to be as simple as a composition notebook, just being able to do a quick journal every day, even if it's, I didn't buy anything, I didn't sell anything, I didn't do anything, right? That's fine. At least you're just being accountable to that journal, right? One of my goals that I was not going to handle until later this year, but kind of was pushed up timeline wise, was when my car finally, broke down on me, finally done the 2000 Honda Accord with 300,000 miles, because I'm true to what I say, right? Like I tell you guys, like I try to live very, very minimally so that, I can do more investing. Finally ended up picking a new car, pick it up next week. So I'm very excited about that. But one of the things that I want to continue to do again, that I started doing at the end of this year, is a quarterly review of all my finances. So that just entails downloading the statements from the last quarter, going through, seeing what you're spending money on, seeing where those extra subscriptions are, seeing all this different stuff. Because even though I'm somebody who's very diligent with my money, I had at the end of last year almost like per quarter, like $800 or $900 worth of revolving subscriptions that I didn't even know that I had anymore, right? Imagine if that money, even though it doesn't sound like a huge amount, was put back into crypto, put in a savings account, put in a variety of different places, right? Or maybe there's other things in there, right? Like how much money are you spending on alcohol? How much money are you spending on things that are not serving you in the higher capacity that are getting you closer to your goals, right? So not to say you shouldn't enjoy these things, shouldn't say you shouldn't enjoy going out to dinner or whatever you want to do. Just peel it back quarterly, take a look at what's going on, because you can surprise yourself almost every time. Since I started doing this, I am always surprised at some of my spending habits, and I'm like, wow, I want to change this, this, and this, and it always makes me feel a little bit better and a little bit more in control of my life. So I hope you guys choose to do some of those things, and of course, I think one of your big resolutions should be join cryptocharge.com, right? You guys can sign up with code YouTube. It comes out to $50 a month or $41 a month if you sign up for the annual plan. We also have a quarterly plan, even though most people prefer monthly or yearly, and that code works for both, right? So there's $49 for the year or $49 a month, and again, I think it comes down to that accountability, right? Having a place in the Discord to talk to other people, whether it's about, hey, what are we buying right now? What do you think about selling here? What do you think about this trade idea? Hey, I'm just feeling crappy today. Like, how do you guys feel about your investing, right? All those things are important, and having that community where you can have an outlet where you can go and communicate with friends, right? It's a very important thing. So I'd encourage you guys to at least try us out, 30-day free trial, and see if it can make your 2024 just that more profitable.
Words of wisdom, Matty. All right, we're done today. Team, we'll see you next week. Bye.